Building in Minecraft can be quite challenging, but over the past few months I've built a couple of islands, and I'd say they turned out rather well. Some of you guys might even refer to me as the island guy by now, and as said, I'm not as bad at making them anymore as I used to be. It genuinely got to a point where I'm very comfortable with them, and I just keep making more and more, and you guys won't be able to stop me, as you can see. In the end, you only get better at things that you do practice and repeat over and over again, and that takes time and effort. So yeah, I kinda decided to add another 4 little islands today, but don't worry, that's not the main project of the video, cause otherwise it would be kinda disappointing, wouldn't it? Which is why we're gonna build an entire city district in today's video. And for that, we're gonna leave the islands over here for a while and move over to our lovely city. I mean, at least a couple of houses that we've built already. But yeah, while the islands are definitely becoming a strong suit of mine, I definitely do lack in other areas, especially designing and building a city, as you can see. I mean, it looks not too bad, but it's not where I want it to be. Which is why I don't just want to build an entire city district, but I also want to learn and create a more developed style for it, with quite some lovely features, of course. So today will not just be about building what we already can, but learning how to build all over again, basically. And with that being said, I don't want to delay anything, so it's time for the first step of today, which is making space for the upcoming city district. So after grabbing the tools, it's time for not too much digging actually. Since I've decided to build the city district over here in this area, next to our already existing buildings, which means that we don't have to remove much actually. So an hour later, we're already pretty much done with most of the digging, I'd say. I mean, we should have enough space for later, I think. Depending on the size of the district, of course, but the plan for today is an entire district, so it probably won't be too huge, because I want to get it done in today's episode. And on the other hand, I have some things in mind already for the style of the buildings, so they should actually fit inside of here without a doubt. Mainly because instead of single huge buildings that take up a lot of space on the ground, I want to build smaller buildings but stack them higher and higher on top of each other, which is usually seen in cyberpunk builds in cities which are designed quite cramped with a lot of narrow side streets and buildings, because there are so many people living there, and the more people, the more housing is needed, and everything becomes more crowded and narrow. So yeah, you guessed it right, the more buildings, the more resources we need to build them. So before we get the chance to build anything, it's sadly time for getting all the resources together quickly. And since we're broke on a lot of resources, that means going on a little farming trip to get all of the remaining things that we need. So time to grab a beacon, and then we head straight to the tuff mines, that are also known as trial chambers, which is useful because that also gives us the copper we need. And there's not just the tuff blocks from the trial chamber, but also the natural spawning veins, which give us so much tuff that it will definitely be enough for a good while. And since I also run out of stone and wood all the time, I went ahead and took care of that as well. And when I say wood, then literally every single wood type that we'll need today. So that means aside of jungle wood, it's spruce wood, then acacia wood, even mangrove. And I kid you not, it's definitely a pain to gather this one. Then birch wood, as well as oak and dark oak wood, which we luckily still had a lot of. So there was no need to gather those two, and with all the materials together, there was nothing really missing at the moment, and the crafting can finally start. I kid you not though, I believe crafting the materials together took longer than the actual farming part today. But after going back and forth to our starter base to get the missing things and craft everything, we're finally done. And we got everything we need except for one thing. Because we sort of have a little situation with our storage, since almost all the shulkers are in use, so a little trip to the end it is. But we won't spend too much time there, because I just want enough shulkers to not have to sort all the materials all the time while building, so half an hour will do. So after a little trip, we almost have 3 stacks of shells, and that will give us enough shulkers for a while, I'd say. And we shouldn't have any problems with our storage anymore. I mean, at least I hope so. They should all fit into our inventory, no? Oh, okay, never mind, we have no space left. I guess that had to happen, right? I mean, it was quite obvious. Anyway, we're fixing that real quick, and then we have to go over to remove the beacon that we have over here, because it's kind of in the way. And then we gotta replace it again a bit further away, I'd say. Now this one just has to go real quick, and then we should have nothing left to do, and we can hop straight into building, I'd say. Now that is not all of it, of course, don't worry. I've just begun to lay out the pathways and streets mainly, together with some outlines of where the building blocks will go. Overall, while designing this district, I'm trying to incorporate different levels of elevation, to have a bunch of variety in height basically. Aside of laying down the outlines and pathways inside the district, I've also put down a part of another main road behind over here. I feel like the pathways not being flat already add quite a bit to the elevation part and make it feel a bit more organic. But the main way of creating a variety in elevation that I want to use, as already mentioned, is not filling the ground with huge buildings that take up a lot of space, but rather have building blocks, like multiple smaller buildings put together, that will be stacked onto each other higher and higher to make it feel more crowded. To create even more interest higher up, I will probably use bridges to connect said buildings and create more interesting shapes, together with staircases eventually and platforms to have more floors on different levels, so we won't just be walking on the streets and pathways, but also on the buildings, sort of. Now at the moment it's still a little mess of outlines and pathways, but we're gonna change that in just a second, because I want to start tackling the first few little building blocks one by one to give you guys a better example of what I mean. So I'd say we're gonna hop back into building and I'll hear you in a bit. Now that's more or less what I want to go for with the multiple buildings in one block, somewhat stacked onto each other, going higher and higher basically to create the different elevations as said, together with all the windows, balconies and roofs on different heights, as well as certain walls being offset by one block to separate the different buildings more and create those different heights. Doing that will not just make the buildings look and feel less flat, but also won't create as many large flat walls on which we'll have to spam details and stuff later on. So it's a win-win kinda. And with the first little two building blocks put in place, and you guys finally have an idea of what I'm trying to go for, let's say we can put another few of them down and fill out the district step by step. So I'd say it's time to go back to building for a bit. Step by step, it's actually coming together now, and with every single building it feels more like a city in my opinion. And since there's only 2 more building blocks left over, I'd say we're gonna tackle them real quick, and then we're pretty much done with the rough design of the district. So it's building time again, and I'll hear you after the last few buildings are in place. Now with the last 2 building blocks finally in place, it doesn't look too bad now, does it? I mean, it's still a bit bland because we didn't do the detailing yet and we just put in the buildings, but I do like the structuring of the entire district. And we kinda accomplished that cramped feeling that I wanted to create. Now without the detailing, there genuinely is not enough going on yet. But once it is in place, there will be quite some to look at and will hopefully feel a bit more alive. But I already do like the feeling we get when walking through the narrow streets. Oh yo, what? Okay, never mind, we haven't seen anything. I guess we'll have to do some approving. That lovely interaction aside though, I do think the last 2 building blocks have turned out rather good. And might actually consist of some of my favorite buildings of today. I mean, I'll have to see once all the detailing is in place, but for now they are quite good, I'd say. Now we are able to access most of the roofs without any additional detailing tweaks, but there's still a few that we'll have to make procurable. For the people that don't know, I still want to carry out my initial plan of making the entire district as well as the entire future city procurable, based on the concept and mechanics of Assassin's Creed. No, not just to hop on the roofs and be a bit silly and goofy, but in general to create more possible interactions with the city and buildings and have a reason to come here and have something to do. And some things to explore, at least more or less, just like they're doing it. I mean, exploring the basement, you know? Jokes aside though, the entire idea to have smaller buildings crammed together, stacking higher and higher on top of each other, comes back to one entire thing, making the city feel overwhelming and having tons of corners to explore. And we won't stop at the current level of elevation that we have over there, since the plan is to go even higher the closer we get to the center of the city, while at the same time creating contrast with larger and more open buildings that kind of break up all the smaller ones and give a sense of scale and immersiveness. But all that aside, I feel like I can't get around more proving, so we gotta do that real quick and make our little district at least somewhat safe. I mean, there's way too many mobs down here, so it has to be done. I'll be using frog lights for the underground and torches probably for inside the houses, I'd say, to reduce some lag at least. Since spamming a million torches might just drop my FPS to 0. I mean, who would have guessed? But with all of that done and all those frog lights and torches in place, we're more or less safe now, I'd say. And to reduce more lag, we do have to fix all the signs we've placed at some point, but we're just gonna do that after the detailing so we don't have to do it twice. So that's for later. Talking about detailing though, we totally do have quite some ahead of us, since the streets don't really feel alive yet now, do they? They don't really. They pretty much feel as lifeless as a corpse, so there's literally no signs of life and we totally do have to change that. Now I do want to start with the exterior, even though the interior would have influence on the exterior. Sort of, if we're talking about professions and stuff, but interiors just take way too long and I don't really want to do them right now, to be honest, so exteriors it is. And I mean, once we get to the interiors, we can just adjust the exterior a bit. I mean, it will be a bit more work eventually, but I'm more comfortable with starting the exterior now, so we'll do that. Which means I'll be slaving away for the next hour sorting and putting all the materials together. But hey, with that done, there's nothing in the way anymore. I mean, it wasn't too bad since it didn't take as long this time, which is quite nice. And with that done, we can finally go over to the detailing, for which I actually already have some things in mind. I kinda wanna start off in this area over here, since I thought it would fit quite well to have some foliage close to the bridge and the river, of course. And don't worry, we won't make everything overgrown, and I don't plan on overdoing it this time, but I can't promise anything. So I started off with a basic wood trellis until one of you guys had an idea for a willow tree hanging over the water, which I decided to incorporate over here above this little building. But since I've never built one before, it sort of turned out a bit wonky and it's probably not too accurate, but it looks quite nice in my opinion, so for the first time it's not too bad. And it just adds so much to the atmosphere. I mean, willow trees just feel sort of magical. I don't know. It's just green. Green does wonders, not gonna lie. Foliage aside though, the streets are still very empty, which is why I wanna fill them with some carrots to bring in some movement and sense of life, basically. Anything that moves or symbolizes movement just makes it feel more alive. I mean, if you move, you're pretty much alive, but if you don't, chances are quite high that you're dead. With the cards in place, there is one other thing that moves though, which is the boats. So we gotta add a few of them over here at the river real quick, because without them it's just way too empty. And right after that, we went back to mob proving, also known as putting down streetlights into the city and adding light to it. I mean, when we run through these streets, there's gotta be some light, right? And after adding the streetlights, I went back to our little corner over here where we started all of this and decided to add detailing building by building, kind of. Which sadly also includes redoing some walls because they didn't fit as well. Having the first bit of the detailing in place though, it does look a lot better already. And I really do love these drying lines, so be prepared for them to be everywhere, in different variations of course. It's just a great detail above our heads that somewhat forces us to look up, which brings us back to the elevation topic that we already talked about. The detailing really creates such a difference, especially the foliage and the drying lines just make it so much better. But yeah, obviously there's still quite some to do, so no breaks, straight back to building and changing basically half of the existing ground that we have for the streets to create more variety and pipes to catch rainwater basically. At least the stairs are supposed to symbolize that. Since there's nothing else really that works in the scale, I'd say. But I feel like it somewhat works. I mean, it's just supposed to hint on it, and yeah, we haven't done the ground over here yet, but we will eventually. Now, another thing that I desperately want to change is the tower over here, since it just doesn't work. So, I'm sorry to every one of you guys that were there at the stream, but I just can't make it work. So, it has to go. After that, I also decided to upgrade the little spring in the backyard with more candles and soul sand for the particles. And it might not be perfect, but it's definitely better than before, so I'm okay with it. Having a look from the roofs real quick, you can see that it's slowly coming to life, but there's still quite some areas which are definitely lacking. I haven't touched these little side streets here at all, but we'll get to it now. Having all the detailing in place now, it's so much better. But I did try to not make it too colorful, or at least bright. So it should feel alive, but also like a regular area and nothing too fancy basically. And I gotta say, the graffiti is probably one of my favorite little details in the district. It just adds so much more character to it, and it just kind of feels unique in a way. And the same goes for the stairs that act as a hint to the water pipes, or the pipes that catch the rainwater, which are sort of meant to transport the water towards the sewer systems or the canals or the river. So yeah, we should have about 80% of the detailing in place already, and we're able to access every building. But yeah, there's no interiors yet. We haven't seen anything. On the other hand, we're also able to access almost every single roof, I think, and it's pretty much procurable already. The remaining 20% of the detailing though, as well as making things procurable, will be added once we have the surrounding districts in place, as well as the interiors for this one, so we can connect everything with one another. But I gotta say, the drying lines or the flags that we have over here just add so much to the vibes, and are, after this little corner over here with the graffiti, probably my favorite detail in the district. And I forgot this block over here. Never mind, gotta change that real quick. And now it's my favorite spot again. And now we're finally done. We're getting all of these details in place. It definitely took a while, but I do think it was totally worth it. But you guys let me know what you think so far of the district and all the detailing, and what kind of little details we could add next time. And while it's not the perfect district or a city, I do think it turned out quite great. And I mean, losing greatness in pursuit of perfection is a curse we often give ourselves, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Yet. I mean, we'll still improve our city style with time, definitely, but there's no need to force it too much. But I will have to force myself waxing the signs real quick, because I don't want to have 0 FPS at some point in the city, so it quite literally has to be done. About half an hour later now, I should have all of the signs waxed by now. I mean, maybe 99% because I missed 1 or 2, but you know, the lag is a lot less already, so I mean, I can't complain, so it's pretty much alright, and we still have some honeycomb over, so we're all good. And if I'm not wrong, that actually was the last thing that we had to do for today. As said, it's not 100% finished, but we'll develop it further with the future city parts that we'll build. But for now, I'd say it turned out quite well. And with that, what are you doing here? Huh? What do you want from me? The doors? The interiors? Nah, no. Guys, we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen anything, trust. I mean, interiors, who needs interiors, right? Yeah, where were we ending the video, I think? Yeah, so I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you all had fun. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments, and seriously, dude, no interiors for today. Okay, just go. Anyways, a special thanks to my Patreon members from Patreon, which are on the screen right now. Feel free to check out the Discord in the description, and a new world download is up as well. And if you're interested to see more, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.